everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's video will be a bioactive setup for my Poecilotheria Miranda, the Bengal ornamental. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and let's do it. So she is currently in this enclosure and I'll be moving her up to this Exoterra 20 by 20 by 30. I do like these enclosures, especially for bioactives. I just think they look better in the Exoterras. So that's the reason why I'm moving her into that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the enclosure first and then we'll rehouse the spider. So while I make this enclosure, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this spider. So these are from India. They are in a boreal tarantula. They reach 16 to 17 centimeter leg span. They are an old world tarantula. And lastly, these are highly venomous. So you do have to give these guys a lot of respect when you're dealing with them. So I'm now going to talk a little bit about the care on how to keep these tarantulas. So when they reach juvenile, I keep my juveniles in a 520ml deli cup. I'll put a picture up on the screen now of what they look like. And when they outgrown that, I will put them in an enclosure like what my Poecilotheria is in now. I'll put the dimensions and the name of these tanks. So if you're interested in these, you can try and find them. So yeah, I'll then move them on to one of those. And then once they outgrown that one, I will then move them up to a Exoterra 20 by 20 by 30 or even a Komodo, something that's in that size, 20 by 20 by 30. A 20 by 20 by 30 is a ideal size when these tarantulas are an adult. This is more than enough space for them. So I think that's all the talking done about this tarantula. I'm now going to talk about what I'm putting in the enclosure. So I've already put in the clay balls and the membrane. I've put in pot and compost, obviously to help the plant. And I've put in the live plant. I'm now putting in the corkbark as its hide. I like using flat pieces because you can control, you can see what your spider is doing. If you use a corkbark tube, then it's harder to know what your spider is doing because it's hard to see it. So if you use a flat piece, you can pretty much see what your spider is doing all the time. So yeah, that's the reason why I use flat pieces. I've also put in a nice branch that I picked up from the woods. That is something else you could do. You can go out and collect stuff yourself. Your branches, your moss, your substrates, your leaf litter, your pieces of corkbark if you can find any. All of it's safe to use as long as you're away from the roads. And yeah, it will not harm your spider picking up stuff from the woods and stuff like that. Like I said, as long as you're away from the roads, it's all safe to use. So yeah, I picked up that branch and I've been saving it, especially for this tarantula rehouse. I do really like it. It's got a nice piece of moss on it. So yeah, what I'm doing now is I am putting potting soil and cocoa fibre and mixed them together to give it a little bit more of a realistic look, I suppose. Yeah, so I'm putting that in at the front and at the back of the, back of the hide. I also put in leaf litter, obviously some moss. I couldn't find any carpet moss. That is something I'm hoping to find at some point. Once I do, then I'll most likely put some in this enclosure. But for now, I use sphagnum moss. Yeah, so sphagnum moss and leaf litter, and I think that's about it. The water dish, you'll see me do in a little bit. I use Dave's Little Beasties. He's another YouTuber. If you haven't checked him out, go and check his channel out. He does some awesome rehouses and stuff like that. All bioactive, all bioactive enclosures. So yeah, go and check him out if you haven't already. But that's where I got that idea from, and I believe everyone else uses that water dish technique now. So what it is you get like a normal like bottle lid, a hot glue gun, and you will glue it to the piece of cork bark. It's a really good idea for your arboreal tarantulas, because your arboreals, they will prefer to drink, while being up high up. So so they'll prefer it drinking up high rather than coming down to the ground. Doesn't mean that they won't, because if they do need a drink, then they will come down to the bottom. But it's better to have it up high. And not only that, it looks a bit better too. So this is what the enclosure looks like once it's all done. Definitely one of my favourite enclosures I've done so far. This is like my first, proper bioactive enclosure make. So yeah, I do really enjoy making this one. So all I'm doing now is I'm just checking the enclosure, making sure everything's right, making sure the water dish is glued on properly, and make sure I don't fall off. So I'm just giving it a quick water, make sure the plant's watered, the moss. When I spray the enclosure, I will always keep the back of it behind the hide. That bit will always stay dry, because obviously you don't want to spray down there, because that's where your spider will most likely be staying. So I will pretty much spray the moss and spray the plant pretty much. So yeah, that is the finish. That's the enclosure finished. So I think it's now time to get the tarantula in. So here she is, behind our hide. So yeah, so this is where she mainly stays. I'm hoping in our new enclosure that she will come out a bit more. Just hope for the best, I suppose. So let's get her in. So I'm not going to catch cup her for this free house. I'm just going to gently walk her up her old enclosure into our new. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give her a touch on the back of her leg, nice and gently, and she will walk up slowly to our new enclosure. So as you can see, I've not got any fat posture from her while doing this. Talking a little bit, about what I said earlier about them being a bit shy. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not getting any fat posture from her at all. She's just slowly walking up to her new enclosure. Now, don't forget, this is all going to be new to her, so she's going to be wondering like what's going on. So what I'm doing now is I'm slowly trying to remove her old enclosure, just so she can walk up to her new enclosure. But instead, I'm going to give her one more touch on the leg to get her to move that last little bit, and then slowly remove the old enclosure. And there we go. Nice and easy, nice and gentle, and nice and calm. So yeah, that was pretty easy. No fat posture whatsoever. It's a bit of a shame that these Poecilotheria species get a bit of a bad name in Norway. They're really not that bad. As long as you know what you're doing, you should never have a problem, really. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of this video. She is absolutely magnificent now. Very cool looking tarantula. So yeah, this is the end of this video. I hope you enjoy this, because I really enjoyed making this enclosure and rehousing this tarantula. If you did like the video, give it a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. I do just want your honest opinions. Drop a comment down below, hit the subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.